It was a long time ago that we were sitting here, probably about 100 days ago, and we were thinking to ourselves, what have we gotten ourselves into? 100 days ago, this president, your president, because he's not my president, decided that he wanted to come back into our lives once more and again. And I really, 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 really want to understand where we all were at that point, 100 days ago, when we were sitting there and we were thinking about this guy coming back into our lives. Did you figure it would be where we are right now? Let's talk about it right here on the 4050 Social Club.
Welcome one and all to another edition of the 4050 Social Club. We're a virtual forum that focuses on Black men and on helpful and healthy ways for us to transition successfully from our 40s into our 50s and beyond. We aim to do this by presenting about a wide variety of topics, from health, wealth, and spirituality, to relationships, to our professional lives and continuing aspirations, to quite simply and honestly just being a great human. As I've shared on several occasions, I wish there had been platforms like 4050 around when I was approaching and beginning to evolve into and through this particular life period. So we hope that you'll engage with us on this podcast as we add to the growing movement to support and to honor Black men. Jamian, our eagle-eyed visionary, Quest, our resident helper, and myself, CJ the Seeker, are excited to be here with you today for another injection of the 4050 Social Club. Let's get it.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Back at it, y'all. Back at it.
Man, how y'all feeling?
This is going to be a juicy one.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm
You
just saying.
can't
100
be a
days.
Black man in your 40s and 50s and not have a strong opinion on this. So
Yeah,
it's
Boy.
yeah. We
it's time
gonna
to
keep it.
re-engage this discussion.
Yeah, we gonna keep it 100. So let's jump
All the
into
way.
it. Let's go.
All the way. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I just want to start off by saying we were here 100 days ago, fellas. I know we had a conversation about this, and that conversation really was around like what now? We talked about Kamala. We talked about the whole situation of her being who she was for us, right? And also who she was for the rest of the world. And we talk about how that wasn't a failure, but how we understood the placement of this new quote unquote upbringing of MAGA and of, I would think in some ways to say, white supremacy, if I can even go that far to say that. So, 100 days later, guys, where are we now?
Wow.
Where are we now?
Man, and again, there's so many ways that we can go with it. I think the question that pops in my head that I would love for y'all to answer, and I'm gonna do the same, but it's trying to reflect on where each of us was emotionally when Trump took office this past January for a second term. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I know, right? Like I'll jump in. I'll jump in with this real quick. So
Yeah.
I would say for me, one of the first things was when he won back in 2016, it seemed like it was a mistake. It just seemed like here
Yes.
we allowed this to happen somehow. I don't even think that he expected to win. And there was no doubt in my mind that from day one until he was out of there in 2020, from the entire time, I don't believe that he really understood what he was in. He didn't strike me as being much of a leader in that sense. It was more, we got to get through these 4 years. We had COVID, all that going on. What I saw the second time around, though, is he came back better. He came back with more behind him. I don't necessarily think that he really is the one that's pulling all the strings here. I believe it really is the folks that are behind him, and they have figured out a way to use him as their puppet to
Yeah.
make all the stuff come to fruition. It's like Project 2025. I'm claiming ignorance. I don't know what that is. Most of the stuff that happened in those first several days had to deal with the Project 2025 playbook. So I do believe when he came back, and because it's not just him now, like I think he came back smarter, he came back more prepared. They came back to hit the ground running from day one. And we haven't seen anything remotely close to this
Yeah.
in our lives history for sure. Being in our
Yeah.
40s,
Yeah.
being in our 50s at this point, when have you ever seen anything like this? So again, to me, when I think about it, I was so tired after the first round with him. The idea that he was coming back for a second round, like I was trying to get myself ready for that emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically, because I know there was going to be some stuff we were going to have to deal with. But then to see the speed with which all of this has come to fruition is scary,
Yeah,
but I can't say I'm surprised. But it's just a lot. It's just a lot, man. What about
yeah,
y'all?
yeah,
Go
yeah. I
ahead,
think
Jake.
there was definitely fear was in there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
my God, like, what does this mean for me as a black man? What does this mean for my black family? What does this mean for all of my black friends? Like, I started
Yeah.
thinking, of course, about how it was going to impact my blackness, but also how it was going to impact our collective safety. So I
Mm,
started thinking about all those things, like wondering just what is it going to mean now? There
Mm-hmm.
was like this
Mm-hmm.
silence. I remember everybody was so excited, when you looked at the different Kamala parties that were happening
mm,
versus the different Trump parties that were happening. And then it was like just this calm quiet, like you could hear a pin drop. And it was like one of those moments I felt the same way I did the last time it happened, where I was like, is this a dream?
mm,
Right.
No. And I remember waking up and he was the president, and I was just like, this has to be a dream. This cannot be real.
mm,
But this time it was some of that, but also like, oh my God,
mm,
this is
Mm-hmm.
real this time.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So those are my thoughts, and still are.
Right.
Yeah, it's so emotional sitting back and having to think about a person sitting next to you and
Mm,
they are going like they're crying. They're in
mm,
Yeah,
disbelief to the point where they are emotional, crying. They are devastated. And devastated why? Because they're a woman
mm,
and they understand the levity of having this person
mm,
in the
yeah,
office. They understand now about their kids. Their kids that, if they want to choose at this point in time, they got somebody in the office that's trying to make the decisions for them.
mm,
And
yeah,
to see that again,
mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That's heavy. Yeah. Well, so let me ask you this then, Quest. Why do you think so many people approve of him then?
it this is something that I have yet to understand. When we look at some of these numbers, the staggering numbers of disapprovals, even in this first 100 days, the disapproval of the tariffs, the disapproval of DEI, the
Mm,
disapproval of how he was handling the border, in which we don't hear anything else about that border, haven't we? Because he's used so many different methods of making sure
My
that that
gosh.
border is controlled. I wonder why these people are still approving of them. And it's so many. The numbers are staggering.
yeah.
44%, 39%, right?
Mm,
Like these are staggering numbers
mm,
of individuals still approving after they are, and maybe they're not. But they have to be. We understand the 1% is an echelon, and that echelon looks a certain way. It looks the thousands of numbers, right? It doesn't look the millions of numbers, right? When you come out of that 1%, we are looking at millions of people that are in these next buckets coming down here. But it's not enough people to make 39% in that 1%. Is not enough. It's not
Yeah,
enough people to do that. So that means that when we come on down this socioeconomic chain, we are seeing that there are other people that are just like you and me that are still agreeing.
mm, yeah.
And
yeah,
that is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Wild at this point to me.
Yeah.
These 100 years, these 100 days feel
Feel like
like
a
a
hundred
hundred
years. I
I feel
years.
know,
like a
right?
It
hundred
feels like a
years.
hundred years.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But when you look at what he said in his interview, how he took nothing but opportunities to just point the finger at Biden. It's the
Still
reason why
doing
this
it.
is like the reason why
Still
this is
doing
like
it.
Yeah,
it is because Biden.
yeah,
Biden this and Biden that, and that's all he can do. This was the same theatrics that we saw again. So you
yeah,
telling me that person that watched this was so much good reality TV that you said, I'm gonna check this name off the box again. And he's gonna come back in here and I'm gonna get my popcorn. And regardless of how much money I don't have at the end of
Hmm.
this, I'm gonna rock with him until the end.
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, that is impressive to me because
yeah.
that's somebody that's going hard in the paint for you. Like
I
real
mean,
talk.
I mean, but we think about it though. I mean, Biden was almost falling out of his chair. You
Sure.
know, like we didn't
Man.
we didn't really have much confidence that he could even walk and talk straight. So he really became a non-factor after a while.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people recognize that there is really no other option but this one.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
then I feel like fear has kept those numbers to sustain and be the way that they are. That's the only thing I can think of is when you oppress people so much to the fact that you just browbeat them to the point where they're just like, I gotta just go along to get along. I feel like that's what's happening. I feel that's
Mm.
happening is one. I also feel the capitalism perspective, the capitalism angle that you referenced. People are like, I'm about to make some bread. I
Mm.
don't care
Right.
what nobody say. And I think there's a lot of undercover black people in there too, in
Yeah.
that 39% that,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, we can't just assume it's all white folks or whatever.
Hmm.
I believe this is a power play across all
Across the
races.
board.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we just don't really talk about those things. But I also feel like there's still a contingent of people also that love disruption, that
Hmm.
love change, that
Yeah.
are just wanting to see something different. And he is knocking it out the park when you think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
As unorthodox as his approaches are,
Mm.
he is disrupting everything.
Yeah.
It's something else at play, and we should know, and we should understand it. And back to what you were saying, Chris, like this was what I was thinking when when he's coming back is I gotta get my army together.
Oh. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta, I gotta, we gotta get us together at this point,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
guess what? It's about protecting us. It's going back to segregation. And you know what? I might be all right with that. I might be okay with it because what it
Mm,
allows me to understand is that we as a people made almost everything you see here.
Mm.
So you gonna tell me that at this point in time we couldn't do it alone? Y'all crazy. Y'all depending on these people. Y'all depending on them a little bit too much. We can do this by ourselves. And I've said it, and I'm going to stand on that business right here again on this show. I believe that that was just a pivotal moment in my life to say, I got to get myself together in all
yeah.
areas for my people.
Yeah. Checkmate. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a checkmate for sure. I totally agree with you on that. If anything, it is sparked a fire underneath my, you know what I'm saying, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of I gotta get all my things together, like
Mm-hmm.
holistically. I gotta get all of it in order, or I will be exposed and
Mm.
possibly left behind.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
that's resounding for me. And
Mm.
we're already seeing it. People are being left behind at day 100,
Yeah.
and it's really sad to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And gosh, there's just so many things at play too. Because Jay, when you were talking about fear a little bit earlier, the moment you said that, there was something in that resonated with me, or resonated in the idea of like, I see this really being at play. And this gets at the percentage of people who are still hugely supporting the
Mm-hmm.
movement that he is a part of right now. And that is white folks' fear of losing the country.
Oh, man.
And when you think about how this country was got, this country
Yeah,
was taken from some
Hmm.
folks who were indigenous to
Hmm.
this land. So when that's a part of the history of the country, and that is a
Yes.
part, you are a part of that, you turn around, you're looking behind you like this can be taken from me too. And I think that's something they
yeah,
saw happening. Becoming the minority by
yeah,
whatever I've heard different years thrown out there, but I know at least by 2020, folks are supposed to be the minority. And I know that there is fear of retaliation for sure. I know there's people who have
Yes.
actually expressed that. Like, if we ever wind up with the minority, I just really hope that people don't pay us back for all the stuff that done happened. So there's fear of that. But I think it's just more it's fear of losing this country. It is. We want to make America great again. We know what that's synonymous with. That means we want to make America ours again. We want to feel
That's
like we're
right.
really in control. And think
That's
about
right.
what
yeah,
we got as a country. Why are they so anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion? They call it DEI. My wife works in this. She wants to make sure that we start to expand the words, like make people disagree with diversity, equity, inclusion, not just these three letters. But when you think about what did diversity, equity, and inclusion
Mm,
mean, it meant that there
mm-hmm.
were a whole bunch of folks who had been doing things the way that they wanted to for several hundred years, being told not only can they not do the things they were doing before that really didn't recognize everybody's humanity equally, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't say the things that I know you have in your head. You can
Huh.
think
Mm,
them. You can think them all you want because I can't police that. But damn, you can't tell me something like that out in public. Like the PC movement, all the stuff got going. And it got to the point where it's so funny too, because what we keep hearing is like, oh, black folk, women, whatever it is, stop playing identity politics. It's like you're
Mm.
playing the same game. You
Yeah.
saying
yeah,
for us not to play identity politics? What are you playing? You're playing the white American
yeah,
Huh.
cisgender identity politics.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
not
yeah,
calling
Yep.
it that, but we obviously see what it is. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
think there's just, man, there's just so much. So I think there's fear of losing the country. I think there's fear of retaliation among a whole bunch of other things that are out there. But I also feel like, and this kind of gets to what you were saying too, both of y'all were alluding to this, there's opportunity in here too. And there are people that recognize it. I think some people buy into it. Others recognize it. We don't buy into it, but we recognize it. We're like, I don't want to get left behind. There's an opportunity here. If I keep standing on the sidelines yelling about stuff, I'm missing a chance to get what I need to get for our community too. And so
yeah.
that's one of those things. I don't want to be lost in this. Like one of the things we've kind of discussed, at least amongst one another, what is our plan over this next 4 years? What are we going to do? And Quest, you mentioned the Army. Jay, we're talking about the same thing. I talk about building a team.
Mm-hmm.
Build your
Right.
team.
Build that
It's
team.
virtually impossible for us to be expert generalists where you just know
Mm,
everything that's going down. You know it well enough that you can exist in a bubble and
yeah,
still be great. Like maybe there's some of us
yeah,
that can do that, but that's not most of us. Or even when
Mm-hmm.
you think about specializing, if you really have the bandwidth to do, you can specialize in one of the zillion of things that are out there. But you can do that and you're going to be missing everything else. So build your team. Have people on your team that are into business and understand how to finesse these laws and these taxes and all that stuff. Have people in education that understand
Yeah.
how to navigate
mm,
that, especially when we're
That's
in this
right.
anti-DEI movement with that
Mm-hmm.
thing going on. Who can navigate the space the right way? Like you can keep going on down the line. Real
yeah,
Yeah.
estate, you name it, medicine, all the different
yeah.
industries that are out there. Build a team of people who specialize in all these areas so you can make sure you're not getting left behind. And not only are you maximizing what you can while this is going on for your team, but you're doing it in a way that allows for those avenues to exist for everybody else in our community.
So good, so good.
That's
I
great,
can't.
bro.
That's
What you
really
just
that's
said.
spot on,
Mm,
CJ.
It is just it I wish we could do it right now. It is what we and I think you all know in our respective cities and where we come from. It is some of the community that we had in those communities. Being able to go to the next door neighbor's house and know them and be there, be protected by them because all of us are protecting each other. That type of
Yeah.
embracing in a community is what we all long for. And we've been detached from that by them. They understood that that was our mechanism and our weapon. And they still understand that that is our mechanism and our weapon. And that's the way they decide that they want to just try to dismantle us. So
mm,
I feel like we need to be a little bit more conscientious around the things that are happening. Look at all these executive orders. This guy has been the number one president in the last the last 47 years, right? To sign as many executive orders into play in the first 100 days. I think you need to look at things like that. There have been less of him signing bills and more of him signing executive orders than
mm.
any other president that we've had in these United States. And that's important for us to look at because, like you said, CJ, who's strings? Who's pulling strings? Why these things? Why now? Why take away the Department of Education now? Right?
Right.
Why are we doing these things now? Why are you halting the IRS now for Doge to come in and look at what's going on so they can turn around and do what? Tell us, the people that are down here grunting every single day that we gotta make more, that we gotta
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
come on.
So I can't help but ask this, and this don't shoot the messenger, but I just have to ask this question. We've talked about eggs, we've talked about gas prices, we talked about the border. I saw a commercial. I was with Babe the other day. We was at Cooper's Hawk. She saw a commercial, and it was a blatant commercial talking about you will be arrested if you are a brown person that's here illegally. And this was the commercial, like
Wow.
on Mother's Day at
Wow.
like
Wow.
3:30 in the afternoon. And we're sitting there looking at each other like, are you kidding me?
Wow. Wow.
And I
Wow.
couldn't help but we both were just like in awe by it. But I want to ask a question that may make you a little uncomfortable. Out of all these things that he's done that we disapprove, is there one thing that he's done that you approve of?
Hmm.
That silence is real. That silence is real. I'm gonna try. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna let you
try and
try
lob
it
something
too.
out there.
I'm gonna let you try to because I'm really thinking. Like I'm not even faking. Like I'm legit thinking right now. Like,
Yeah.
hmm.
The only what I'm gonna say, and Jay, you and I are part of a small group of brothers that got our little investment group. We're
Yeah,
not. It's not stacking lots of coins, whatever. We're doing our thing. We're learning. We're doing all this. And Bobby, one of the folks that group of eight, I'll never forget. Trump took office. We were getting all upset about all this. And I remember he said, and this is a brother that lives up in Detroit. So he's seeing it all. And he's like, at the end of the day, fellas, Republicans know how to make money. At the end of the day, Republicans know how to make money. So whatever's going on, if you can protect yourself, because you know what's going to happen. The markets are going to go crazy. The moment he got elected, it shot up. Then all of a sudden the tariffs and all these things start. Price of eggs go up. Investments, you're losing thousands and thousands. I am glad I am 53. Like we're in this 40-50 as opposed to being in our 60s. Because those
yeah,
folks are sweating it right now. Like they
Yeah,
they were ready to
yeah,
retire. And suddenly
yeah,
yeah,
20-30% of their nest egg is gone. I got a
yeah,
yeah,
mother-in-law who has been retired. She's in her 80s now, been retired. And she's talking to us like I'm on a fixed income. Hey,
yeah,
what's going to happen if all this runs out? We're looking at it like you just
yeah,
got to come move in with us.
yeah.
yeah,
But that is the thing.
Wow.
So part of this is they are making people sweat this thing out. They're doing all this crazy stuff because they know their folks are going to have this inside information. This is a money grab. We were on the cusp, and I think we still are, have been on the cusp of the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of our
Yes.
country. And as we
Yes.
were becoming more black and brown and just colored all over, that group was looking at what they were losing. I truly believe that part of what we see right now is an attempt to try and snatch those reins back. Make
Yeah,
sure that we can
I
keep that
agree.
wealth with ours. So we got enough right now to sweat it out a little bit and know that on the upturn we're gonna be good because we're gonna buy out all these people that gotta sell low. Because they
yeah,
have no choice but to sell, and now it comes back to us. So
Mhm.
when I think about the money piece of this, if we are smart,
yeah,
we can make a lot of money out of this and really position ourselves and our community up better. But we just have to have our focus in the right place. Like we're wagging the finger so much. This is where I say it. You got to have people on your team that wag the finger. I think that needs to be there. But
Yeah.
you also have to have the person that's a little bit more level-headed about it and thinking in that business way. But like, yeah, while you're doing that for our team, I'm gonna make sure I'm positioning us to make sure that we benefit from it.
You have to be able to be part of the system to be able to fix the system. Even if you don't want to fix the system, being part
yes,
of it gives you the advantage to understand where it is weak. And when you can see where the weakness is, you can either dismantle it or use it to your advantage.
Mm,
yeah,
All of
mm,
these things are things
that's
that at
real.
this point in time, we should be considering and thinking about doing. Again, to the
Yeah.
mantra that you just had, Chris, we have to have people that are doing it
Mhm.
because you got to think about the right now. The right now, we're talking about it, but the right now ain't going to change it. And it's
yeah,
the same situation when it comes time for you to look and say, ooh, that house that was 9%. Way back down to this 2-3% now. What time is it? But you're not thinking it good enough. Because if that house is at that, then that building over there with all these unique ideas you got, it's also gonna be cheaper.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like everything at this point in time that we could think about that happened back in 2008 that happened back in 2020 we need to bring it back, yes,
Mm,
so I can say that is an advantage and probably one of the only things, but it's only that advantage if you are ready to get your community together. The flourishing of yourself is going to put you into where you are seeing yourself with them. You are one of them at that point in time. the
yeah,
flourishing, taking yourself and saying, I'm gonna make millions of dollars, and this just what I'm gonna be, and this just what I'm gonna do. And I am gonna stand on that business. It is my opinion, but the flourishing in that way is not going to help us in any way fix this system. It's when we all get it together and say, ooh, we know something that's gonna educate our people to learning more about this and how they can say no or how they can do other things or whatever like that. So that now, in a swoop, we have more people understanding the system and now being able to either get what they need from it or dismantle it.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
Shoot.
time for arms. They're giving us a
Yeah.
reason to arm up.
yeah,
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
What's your positive if you're forced to
Yeah,
find one?
I think the things that you all have mentioned, but also, as I mentioned before, just the disruption that's been happening that will continue to happen. And me living a life as a change agent, there's parts of change that really suck.
Mm. Whew.
The beginning parts of change are so difficult because inevitably none of us really want to change unless it's forced on us to some level. And I feel like this is presenting an opportunity. There's this one little thing I remember saying, like, God puts you in these uncomfortable situations so that you will move.
Mm.
And
Mm,
I feel
mm,
like
I like that.
if we would have put ourselves and continued to be in that comfortableness that happened with Biden and some of the past leadership, we wouldn't be scrounging and trying to reposition ourselves and think of ways to do things differently and
Mm.
take an AI course and start a podcast and look at
Mm.
other revenue streams.
Yep.
I was talking to my homeboy this morning. He was kicking himself because he was like, man, I had bought Doji coin back in the day when it was pennies on the dollar. It's now $99 a share or something crazy. He was saying he could have been a millionaire. You
Mm.
know, like I'm just thinking about all these things that is causing you to percolate in different ways that you wouldn't have thought of 101 days ago, you know? And so that's
Yeah.
where I stand. I'm like, as
Yeah.
much as it sucks, God, I know we're gonna get to the other side of this sucky part.
yeah.
And where am I gonna sit? What crew and band of partners am I gonna be with to look at it from the other side and be like, I'm glad we did what we did when we had
Yeah.
the opportunity while all these people were in this fog of noise.
Mm. Wow.
And
I
that's what
like
I
that.
believe is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as much as it sucks, man, there's a part of me that's like, this is an opportunity for us to get to the next level, whatever that next level is
Yeah.
Yeah.
for us as a people and as
I'm with you.
individuals.
I'm with you. I
Yeah,
like that. No, and that's
yeah,
it, right? Like that's the kind of outlook that helps you to get to where we're trying to get with this. You know what I mean? Like you got
Hmm.
to have, because if you're defeatist about it, you're going to have a defeatist result. You know, like if
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
understand that there is opportunity here, it may take a lot of digging to find it, but it's there. It's always there. It's
yeah.
always there.
I can't lie,
It's
man.
always there.
You know, going to downtown Chicago every day and me and Babe will be driving in the car or whatever and just looking at people's face and what they're wearing and how they're walking to work. And it's just kind of like you just see these people, man, they're just like soulless almost, like just going through the paces, you know? And it's hard for me not to just sit back and be like, I don't want that to happen
Mm,
to anybody in my family or circle or whatever. Like
Mm.
I want us to keep having a zeal for life
mm,
and not let the surrounding elements pull us down where we just feel like we don't have anything to look forward to.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
agree.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
I
yeah,
agree with that.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's very powerful.
Yeah, it
yeah,
really is.
We have to be ready at all points, and it's not just a call to action, it's a call to your life. It's a
Mm,
change. The change that we are experiencing right now is life changing. It's
mm,
life changing.
yeah,
mm.
We've been through life changing experiences where I have felt, that this is just part of the test, you know.
Mm,
And so when you see the things that are happening and you're starting to kind of take that piece and put it over here, oh shit, that fixed.
mm.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like that really fit together right there. Let me look at this again. Oh, guess what? And you start
yeah,
piecing that puzzle together, you start seeing, hey, I gotta make a move here, not just for me, but for us. And I
yeah,
think we need to be expressive of how that move looks. We're
Yeah.
sitting here and we're saying it. People, go out there. Look at your finances. If you're not financially literate, let's get that going. Understand why we're saying more streams of income. Understand what that means for your life. Understand what that means for you getting into that, and that you can get into it now and still be able to be, profitable here down the line. It's something else that basically will help you. And then think about your community. Think about the people around you. Think about how we as a community need to be more successful with speaking with each other, with bringing all of us together in one place and being able to celebrate each other, but also go through those experiences of walking through why we can't all be the same, or we can't all get along, and try to walk through those things so that we can at least be together in this community situation, right? And
Yeah.
iron out those things. We have so many traumas, and we need each other to really get this back going. So think about what that means for you. Think about what your home, right here in your home that you're watching this right now, or wherever you are, think about your household and how your community and your household is. If that needs to improve, improve it. And then bring those skills to the table to help us improve this community that we're trying to create.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
real.
We got to do something. We got to do something.
Yeah. And I would say on top of that too, and this gets back, Jay, you were talking a little bit earlier about education and
Yeah.
the attack on education. Why do you think that's happening? You know what I mean? It's happening for a couple
Hmm.
reasons. It's happening to our communities because they understand a black folk, colored folk with education is dangerous to the system. It all
Hmm.
depends. It because you can be educated and come out of it believing what they want you to believe, or you can be educated and come out there saying like, huh, getting back to what
Hmm.
Quest was saying, there are multiple ways to make sure that this thing, whether it comes down or molds to what I want us to become, now that I
Yeah.
understand my gifts and how to apply them in this system, I can work it or I can work to get rid of it so that something new can come, right? So once they start to realize, like, okay, they get a little bit of smarts, like what they're trying to do, they're trying to cut all that off. They don't want that happening. It's erasing everything that is black and great. Like they're trying to do
Yeah.
that. This is what they want us to start believing because of that mental prison that it keeps us in. When you internalize that you are less than, you're going to be less than. What we are talking about is understanding truly what we are and basking in that and reveling in that power. That can't be stopped. So they're trying to
Yeah.
do things like take that education away, but also think about what's happening in their own communities and those really big time right wing communities. They don't
Oof.
want that education to be there because they are keeping their masses unexposed.
That's right.
They're
That's
Yeah.
they're
right.
keeping a big part of
Ah,
their voting base. They're keeping a huge part of that uneducated and without exposure
say it,
to
Chris.
anything outside of their small world. And what do you think that happens when you're not exposed to the other? The other is something you fear, right?
Yeah.
You believe it's basic human nature. It's basic human nature. If you're not receiving an education that takes you outside of that, because you have to consciously overcome those parts of our human nature that don't necessarily
Yeah.
need to survive in the evolutionary tree, right? Like there are things that we need to be able to let go. Just because you look different than me doesn't mean you're a threat. Why? We can all do this
Yes.
thing together. But again, you keep people unexposed, you keep people in a small community, and they're just in there, they're talking about each other in the ways we talked about that in an earlier episode, being black in the community I grew up in, going to predominantly white high school, and the way that people were like, oh, what's it like, because there was so much fear of the
Right.
unknown. I got educated.
Now,
I
what's it
got educated,
like?
right?
What's
So
it
Yeah.
they
like?
don't want us educated, but for a lot of them, they don't want a big chunk of their base educated
That's
either.
right.
Because to do that, the moment they get exposed to the other in a real way and beyond the generalizations and the sensational things you see, and oh my gosh, there's something to fear. The moment that happens, this dream that they had for themselves that they've been holding on to, it comes crumbling down. They
Mm.
understand what they're doing, but this is again just a call to us. However,
Mm.
you need to get educated. It is too easy. You ain't got to pay for education. There's so much
Yeah.
stuff that's out there that you can access right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Make sure you do that. Be educated. Stay educated.
Yes. When the rats got
Okay.
smarter. When the rats got smarter.
Yeah. Whew.
Uh,
Yeah. Well,
that's
I do
it.
want to ask y'all one other thing though, too, because it's real. Because we were saying when you think about colored folks, when you think about black folks, brown folks in this thing, there's a way that you can finesse it where you're like, I'm using this education to do my thing. And then there's another way And we know some people, there's some figures out there, Candace Owens, Jason Whitlock, that we can come up with a whole bunch of them that are out there right now. It is big business to be a Black conservative right now. And we know that there's some people that don't necessarily believe the stuff, but they're buying into it because it pays well. What do you think on that?
Jay, what you think?
Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I wonder, I can't really hate on them. It's an opportunity for them to increase their nest egg, to increase their relevance. As much as I want to hate on them in the grand scheme of capitalism, go for it, man. Like what I look like wasting a lot of time and energy hating on them. I'm looking to put my time and energy on what I can create for myself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So
mm.
I definitely feel it. I can see it from all sides of it. But for me, I'm like, do your thing, man. If that's how you sleep at night and that's how you feel good about yourself,
Mm,
then I'm all for it.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a
Wax,
little
how
bit.
about you?
I got a little bit of hate on it. It's okay for me because I don't. To your point, Jay, I don't let it bother me. But when I see it, I call it out because it's in a lot of ways everyone has their own opinion, and I'm cool with that.
Mm,
When you start taking someone's opinion away is when, I feel like you need to step in. And in some of these
Yeah.
ways, not being from our areas, not living our lives is a really, really big deal, right? There's somebody whose life was definitely, far more tremendous is a word that I want to use here. Far more tremendous than with traumatizing events than mine was, right?
Mhm.
And they had either overcome those things or not. And for some of these people to kind of tell us now what we need to do, how we should have done it, and,
mm,
the desire and privilege, quote unquote, that we had, so I think that plays a huge role here. And
mm,
I hate that because who are you to consider your capitalism as the basis for how we should approach life? Who are you? Who are you?
Yeah, that's
You
right.
are definitely not part of the system.
mm,
Not the way that they in some ways envisioned you being.
mm.
You are part of the system first as who they wanted us to be. And then when they saw there were a couple of you that would kind of sell us off, they
Mm,
decided this is now part of the system too. So they have to have you. You have to be part. They have to allow you to make money. It's part of their system.
it's part of the system. Yeah.
It's a way to control you.
It's a way. And I
It's a way to
hate
control
that.
you.
I hate that. I hate that that's for real. I
Mhm.
hate that that's the truth. I hate that these people, continue to make it seem as if we still to this day are not being traumatized.
That's real.
It doesn't have to be to where it's you all the time.
Yeah.
It's somebody. And
Yeah.
it's truth. It's for true. We see it. Y'all not gonna believe it?
Mm,
Yeah.
So while
That's
Candace
real.
Owens is out here and she's advocating for certain things that I understand, and I'm saying like I can see where someone can, be for that. It's the other things, the comments that basically allow me to understand that, I don't know if you're looking at this from just a human standpoint. I think you're looking at it from this money.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
what I find so interesting about it too, and I think I'm a mix of both of you all. It's like, hey, you don't answer to me. You answer to your God or whatever it is that you answer to. You don't answer to me. So you get to live your life the way you want to live it. Do what's good for you. The idea that what they do makes life harder for people like me,
Hmm.
that's the part of it that I don't like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's hard not to have to deal with. You know what I mean? Unless you
Hmm.
are isolating yourself from the world that's been
Yeah. That's
created,
real. That's real.
you
That's
have to
real.
deal with it. So that's the part to me that just
Yeah.
wears on me
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah.
That's real.
But again, I don't begrudge those folks. It's like I didn't live your life. Maybe if I grew up with the exact same set of experiences you did, I might wind up in the same place. It's hard for me to see myself being there because it's not a mindset that I understand. But I got to give you your grace to be who you are. It's the fact that because people are willing to shower you with riches as a Black conservative because they want you out there parroting all these things that say that the white way is the way to do it, they're
Hmm.
throwing all these things your way, loving this, you're eating it up. but it makes it harder on us because people are like, well, why can't you be that way? Right.
All
And
right.
again, I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna live my life, but I still have to deal with the weight of that. And that's the part I think I kind of don't like. But what I was gonna say though is that what's crazy, if you are that black conservative and you are denouncing the things that they don't like to espouse all the things that they do like, how do you reconcile what just went down this week where Trump, who we talked earlier, Jay, you talking about the border and how the border has gotten very secure. We ain't letting in people from all these countries. I don't care what it is they're coming from. And then all of a sudden this week, homeboy opens up the borders for white folks from South Africa who are trying to flee. They're saying that they want to flee what is being seen as
Yeah.
black folks starting to now persecute them. And to get on the White House lawn and say that, I'm not surprised at all, but I am wondering for the black conservative, how do you reconcile that? Letting in white South Africans when he said that the border's supposed to be closed, the only people he's keeping out are the colored folks. They're trying to come here for a better life. And he's trying to label all of them as thugs and gangsters and rapists and all these different things. They're
Yeah.
criminals. They're criminals, you know? And it's not just because they're people who are trying to enter illegally. It's not just that. It's about resources. He ain't trying to
Yeah.
share them resources with us.
With
So when
none
you're
of
a
us.
black conservative, how do you deal with that?
Man, we gotta put a pin in this, y'all. We gotta put
Yeah.
a pin in this. We gotta put a
We can
pin in
keep
this.
going, man. We
We
keep
could
going
keep going. We
forever.
gotta put a pin in this. We will
Man, that's
continue.
good. Chris, that's so good.
That's good. That's good.
It's
That's
troubling.
good.
It's
It just
troubling is
goes,
what it is.
it is troubling. It goes back to my point. Why are you for him?
Yeah.
Why are you for him?
Mm.
Mm, mm.
And on that note, y'all, we're gonna put a pin in this one. Cause we're gonna come back to this at the next 100.
You
Amen.
right.
Amen. Hey, real quick, shout out to baby girl Taylor finishing up first year of law school, doing the
Yeah.
thing.
That's what's
Love to see
up.
it.
That's
Love
what's
to see
up.
it.
That's what's up. Congrats.
Yeah.
Congratulations. All right, everybody. We kept it 100 with y'all for the first 100 of Donald Duck's drama series. We'll keep we'll keep going at it, y'all. Love y'all. We catch y'all on the next one.
And that's a wrap on another successful and penetrating episode of the 4050 Social Club. We're obviously so glad you joined, and we hope that you found something healthy, affirming, and powerful in today's content. Please help support this movement by liking this video and following us on Instagram and YouTube at 4050.socialclub. We'll see you again next week, same time, same channel, as you work with us in this growing and important community to make these the best years of your best life. Till then.